Dr. Elena Vasquez had precisely 3 talents: identifying ancient relics, infuriating her colleagues, and maintaining an impressive level of sarcasm even when covered in 3 feet of radioactive dirt. Today, she was excelling at all 3. "Careful with that resonator, clicks," she called out, watching the Vrathri researcher wave his scanning equipment around like a drunken conductor. "We're looking for artifacts, not trying to microwave the planet." The dig site on Terra Forgotten was, in Elena's professional opinion, an absolute mess. The Galactic Council had assigned her a team of 12 xeno-archaeologists, and approximately none of them knew the difference between a human data core and a particularly sophisticated toaster. But that was the curse of being the only human specialist in a galaxy that considered her species adorably primitive. "Dr. Vasquez," chirped Sela, the Corthian team lead, her translator struggling with her 3-tone voice. "The ground-penetrating scans indicate an anomaly. Very large. Very deep." "How large are we talking?" Elena asked, brushing dust from her environmental suit. "Approximately 80 meters in length." Elena stopped brushing. 80 meters? That's not an anomaly, that's a building. Or a really unfortunate mistake in someone's urban planning. But when they finally breached the underground chamber 6 hours later, Elena realized it wasn't a building at all. The cavern stretched before them, illuminated by their portable floods, and at its center sat something that made Elena's blood run cold and her scientific curiosity explode into overdrive. It was a war machine. Not some cute mining mech or construction loader. An actual honest-to-God military-grade combat platform, angular and predatory even in sleep mode, covered in 3 millennia of dust but still radiating menace. "Well," Elena muttered, stepping forward while her alien colleagues edged backward. "This is either going to win me a galaxy prize or kill us all. Possibly both." The machine towered above them at least 20 meters, a behemoth of angular plating and weapon mounts that would have made a battleship jealous. Its hull was scorched black in places, battle-scarred, with sections that looked like they'd been designed by someone who really wanted to make sure their enemies had nightmares. Twin cannon arrays flanked what Elena assumed was the cockpit, though calling it that seemed insultingly mundane. This thing wasn't meant to be piloted. It was meant to be unleashed. "Nobody touch anything," Sela whispered, her vocal sacs trembling. Elena was already walking toward it. Because of course she was. "Vasquez, I must insist you maintain safe distance," Clicks warbled, backing toward the chamber entrance. "Safe distance from a 3,000-year-old artifact is approximately never getting to study it," Elena replied, running her gloved hand along the hull. The metal was smooth, impossibly so, as if time itself had forgotten to corrode it. She found what looked like a panel, traced with symbols she almost recognized. Human script. Ancient human script from before the diaspora. Her fingers pressed against the panel before her brain could properly assess whether this was monumentally stupid. The hum started low, a vibration that Elena felt in her bones before she heard it. Then the chamber flooded with sound, a deep resonant thrum that made her teeth ache. Running lights blazed to life along the machine's frame, crimson and amber, casting demonic shadows across the cavern walls. "Vasquez, move away from it!" Sela shrieked. But Elena stood frozen, watching as the machine's optical sensors ignited, bathing her in red scanning light. The beam traced her outline, her face, lingering on her eyes like it was reading her soul. Or her species. Probably her species. Then it spoke. The sound was nothing like any language Elena knew. Clicks and mechanical tones, deep bass rumbles mixed with high-frequency chirps that made her translator implant scream error codes. The aliens were scrambling backward now, Clicks actually tripping over his own tentacles in his panic. But Elena just stood there, mind racing, because buried in those sounds was something achingly familiar. Something that tickled the back of her linguistic memory like a half-remembered song from childhood. Elena's mind raced backward through 16 years of academia, past alien linguistics and xenoarchaeological theory, all the way back to that one insufferably boring elective she'd taken in her second year. Historical human languages. She'd only signed up because it fit her schedule and the professor had a reputation for easy grades. Thank God for academic laziness. Those weren't random sounds. They were phonemes. Proto-Mandarin tonal patterns layered over what sounded like Old Russian consonant clusters. Languages that had been dead for 3,000 years, extinct before humanity even left Earth's solar system, now being spoken by a war machine that probably predated most galactic civilizations. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me," Elena muttered. The machine repeated its phrase, more insistent this time. "A question. Definitely a question." Elena cleared her throat. Her alien colleagues were pressed against the chamber walls now, watching her like she'd gone completely insane. They might be right. She attempted the closest approximation she could manage, her tongue fumbling through tones her vocal cords weren't designed to produce. The pronunciation was absolutely butchered. She sounded like someone trying to speak Mandarin while gargling gravel and having a mild stroke. Identification. Human. Present. It came out as a mangled mess that would have made her linguistics professor weep. Or possibly file a restraining order against the concept of language itself. The machine went silent. For 5 excruciating seconds, nothing happened. Elena became acutely aware that she was standing directly in front of a weapons platform that could probably vaporize her into her component atoms. Then came a series of processing sounds, mechanical clicks and whirs, like an ancient computer trying to remember how to computer. The red lights flickered. Pulsed. The machine's main optical array focused entirely on her. Elena held her breath. This was either going to be the greatest archaeological breakthrough in human history, or a really embarrassing way to die. Her tombstone would read, "Killed by poor pronunciation." The machine's response was thunderous. Its entire frame shifted, hydraulics groaning after millennia of sleep, and it lowered its main chassis in what could only be described as a bow. The movement was precise, military, reverent. Then it spoke again, and this time Elena's translator implant caught enough cognates to piece together meaning. Command authority recognized. Genetic markers confirmed. Orders received. General. 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 Elena's internal monologue immediately spiraled into panic. She was a lot of things. Doctor, yes. Smartass, absolutely. Functioning alcoholic, on weekends. But a general? She'd never even been in the military. The closest she'd come to combat was a particularly vicious tenure committee meeting. "Oh no," she whispered. "No, no, no. There's been a terrible mistake." But the machine wasn't listening. It was running through what looked like diagnostic sequences, lights cascading across its hull, weapon systems cycling with ominous mechanical precision. Unit designate Valkyrie 773, reporting operational status. Awaiting strategic directives, General. Elena's mind raced through the implications. Her translator was working overtime now, cross-referencing linguistic databases, and what it was showing her made a horrifying kind of sense. Humanity's early expansion hadn't been the peaceful exploration the modern histories claimed. Turned out, before humans became the galaxy's adorable underdogs, they'd been something else entirely. They'd been builders. Specifically, builders of autonomous war machines that made modern dreadnoughts look like children's toys. The kind of weapons you deployed when you wanted a planet pacified, not occupied. The Galactic Council had quietly buried that history. Literally, in some cases. And now Elena, through sheer bad luck and worse pronunciation, had just identified herself as command authority to a relic from humanity's apparently terrifying military past. A past where humans didn't ask nicely for their place in the galaxy. They took it, and they built machines like this one to make sure nobody argued. "So what you're telling me," Elena said slowly, "is that humanity used to be the galaxy's equivalent of that friend nobody invites to parties because they bring weapons?" The machine hummed affirmatively. "Fantastic. Just fantastic. Vasquez, shut it down. Shut it down now." Sella's voice had climbed approximately 3 octaves into pure hysteria. "I'm working on it," Elena shouted back, which was a generous interpretation of standing there in abject terror. The machine swiveled its optical array toward the other xenoarchaeologists, and they collectively flinched. "General, shall I neutralize these hostiles? Their threat assessment is minimal, but protocols suggest eliminating potential intelligence leaks." "No. No neutralizing," Elena yelped. "They're friendlies. Allies. Absolutely do not vaporize my co-workers. That is a direct order." "Acknowledged. Updating threat matrix." Klix had pulled out his comm unit and was frantically trying to contact the orbital station. Elena could hear him babbling something about a code Vermilion situation, which was apparently Galactic Council speak for, "We are all going to die horribly." The machine continued, oblivious to the panic. "General, please provide strategic assessment. What is our current objective? Planetary defense? System suppression? Shall I activate standby units for coordinated strike protocols?" "Standby units?" Elena's voice cracked. "There are more of you." "Affirmative. This unit is Valkyrie 773. Current network shows 4,612 sister units in dormant status across 17 sectors. Awaiting reactivation codes." Elena's legs suddenly felt unreliable. 4,000 war machines, each probably capable of glassing a city before lunch. "Okay, new question, and I need you to think very carefully about this answer. What exactly were you all built to do?" This unit series was constructed for rapid territorial acquisition and hostile force elimination. Primary function: overwhelming military superiority. Secondary function: deterrence through demonstrated capability. Tertiary function: making humanity's enemies regret their life choices. That last one wasn't in the official specs, was it? Negative. General. That was from Technician Rodriguez. She had a sense of humor. "Of course she did," Elena muttered. Sella had somehow found the courage to approach, though she kept Elena between herself and the machine. "Dr. Vasquez, do you understand what this means? The Council has spent 3 millennia ensuring humanity remained classified as a developing species. Non-threatening. Harmless. If they discover humans built thousands of these." The implication hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Humanity wasn't the galaxy's victim. They weren't the plucky underdogs who'd barely survived first contact. They'd been the monsters in the closet that everyone was too terrified to mention. And the Galactic Council had been very, very invested in making sure humans never remembered what they'd been capable of. "Well," Elena said, her voice absolutely not shaking, "this is awkward." Elena's brain was doing that thing where it presented her with multiple terrible options and asked her to pick the least catastrophic one. It was like choosing between food poisoning and a root canal, except the stakes were slightly higher. Like, galactic civilization ending higher. Option 1, power down the murder machine, pretend this never happened, let the Council keep lying about humanity's past. Stay safe. Stay small. Stay harmless. Option 2, keep a functional doomsday weapon in her back pocket and become the galaxy's worst-kept secret. Her internal monologue was desperately unhelpful. On one hand, nobody likes being lied to for 3,000 years. On the other hand, there's probably a really good reason the Council decided humanity shouldn't have access to weapons that make black holes look friendly. The machine waited patiently, its weapon system still cycling, ready for orders that could reshape the political landscape of known space. Elena took a deep breath. "Valkyrie 773, I need you to listen very carefully. Are you capable of returning to standby mode?" "Affirmative, General. This unit can enter hibernation status pending future reactivation." "Good. That's good." Elena chose her next words like she was defusing a bomb, which wasn't far from the truth. "Current strategic assessment. No active threats detected. All hostile forces are classified as neutralized or absent. Objective status. Mission complete. You've done your duty. You and all sister units are hereby ordered to maintain standby status until further notice." The machine processed this. Acknowledged. However, protocol requires command continuity assurance. "General, this unit must transfer network access credentials to maintain chain of command." "Network access what now?" Before Elena could protest, a beam of light shot from the machine's sensor array directly into her neural implant. Her vision exploded with data. Coordinates. Locations. 4,612 points of light scattered across star charts, each one a dormant war machine waiting for someone to say the magic words. The download finished in 3 seconds. 3 seconds to become the sole person in the galaxy who knew where humanity's skeleton army was buried. "Transfer complete," Valkyrie announced. Standing down. "It has been an honor serving with you, General." The machine's lights dimmed, systems powering down with a descending whine, until it stood silent once more. Elena stood there, head full of weapons coordinates and the growing realization that she'd just become the galaxy's most dangerous archaeologist. "So," she said to nobody in particular, "turns out humans aren't just hilariously dangerous. We're hilariously dangerous with really good inventory management." 3 days later, Elena sat in her cramped quarters aboard the research station, staring at a glass of whiskey she hadn't touched and a star chart she couldn't stop seeing even when she closed her eyes. The Galactic Council had classified the entire dig site. Sealed the chamber. Valkyrie 773 was officially recorded as a non-functional construction relic. The report Elena had been strongly encouraged to sign described it as archaeologically insignificant. 4,612 points of light said otherwise. She'd kept her mouth shut during the debriefing. Nodded in all the right places. Agreed that yes, perhaps she'd been mistaken about the machine's power-up sequence. Just a malfunction. Nothing to worry about. The council representatives had looked relieved, which told Elena everything she needed to know about how badly they wanted this secret to stay buried. But secrets were like archaeological sites. Eventually, someone always started digging. Elena pulled up her messages. 3 separate human research teams had filed requests to investigate anomalous metallic signatures on colony worlds in the past week alone. Either humanity had suddenly developed an obsessive interest in geology, or some deep genetic memory was starting to wake up. Drawn to old battlefields like salmon swimming upstream. Accidentally promoted to general of a ghost army, Elena muttered, finally taking a sip of her drink. That's definitely not on my resume. The thing about humans, she reflected, was that they'd always been good at 2 things: building impressive weapons and forgetting why they shouldn't use them. The galaxy had spent 3 millennia convinced that humanity was harmless, primitive, adorable in their ambitions. Turned out humanity had just been on a very long coffee break. Her neural implant pinged softly, displaying the network map. All those sleeping giants, waiting in the dark. 1 word from her and the galaxy's power structure would collapse like a house of cards in a hurricane. Elena smiled into her whiskey. "Here's to terrible decisions," she said, raising her glass to the star chart. "May the galaxy never find out humans are back in the murder machine business." Outside her window, stars glittered innocently. Somewhere out there, 4,000 weapons dreamed of war. And humanity, as always, remained hilariously dangerous.